They too had a families. They too had a life. At one point, we were also having the same problems. Helping each other gives us only a productive society, and we can save a child by helping. Let's just give them a chance. That's the only thing I would say. And you will see this incredible talent coming out of it. I'm lucky to help those people, to be honest. I really am.
Hello, Clever Helpers Tribe, and welcome back to the season finale of season 6. I cannot believe we're already here. Today we have Ramy Ibrahim. He is a Habesha Eritrean living in the Netherlands. He actually lives in Hoorn, which is about 45 minutes from Amsterdam. So thanks for joining us today, Ramy. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing good. And I'm really excited to talk to you because most of the Eritreans we've had on the show before, Habesha, they're either in marketing or in some other field where they're working with their hands, but you're actually an interpreter. So we want to get a little bit on how you got to that proficiency level. But let's take a
Yeah,
step back.
sure. Definitely. Yeah. Oh, by the way, let me just correct you. Interpreter slash intercultural mediator.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, we'll have to
Yeah.
go into that.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
But you've always been bilingual, so tell us a little bit about speaking Amharic and Tigrinya and then studying English back in Eritrea. How did that happen?
I'm actually trilingual. Yeah, I was born in Ethiopia, raised in Ethiopia. Father was a lecturer. My mother was also a teacher. My mom spoke, still speaks English, Arabic, Tigrinya, Amharic. My dad spoke, real, yeah, he's not actually with us anymore, but he spoke around maybe 5 languages, if I'm not mistaken, including Spanish, because he used to live in Cuba for 2 years. I just got their skills, I would say. And I was also in an American school in Addis Ababa, and now I'm living in the Netherlands. And I'm proud to say I speak also the Dutch language. That means by birth, I'm Ethiopian, I would say. By blood, I'm Eritrean. By citizenship, I'm Dutch. So I'm a global citizen, I would say. So 1998 and 1999, if I'm not mistaken, the war broke out between Ethiopia and Eritrea. The Ethiopian government announced that all the Eritreans residing in Addis Ababa had to leave the country. My father was actually deported from Addis Ababa, where he has been living almost for 35, 40 years. And he thought he was actually one of the citizens of Ethiopia. But fortunately, the government announced that all Eritreans had to leave. So, yeah, we had to leave also with our family to Eritrea. That was actually also a little bit like a culture shock because I've never been in Eritrea. I only know that my family were Eritreans. But the moment we entered Eritrea, that was a little bit of culture shock for us. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I've had other people on the show that told me a little bit about that. But one thing that they haven't talked about is when the deportation happened, how much notice were you given before you had to leave?
Well, my father, he never received any notice. What I remember is that police or the people working for the government came around 3 o'clock or maybe 2:30 in the night. They knocked at the door. My dad, he opened the door. So he was taken to the prison with his pajamas, and I will never forget that. And the next day, they put him on a bus, and he was immediately ported to Eritrea. And then we got a notice from the municipality where we lived that we had to leave within, if I'm not mistaken, a month, sell our home, all the things we owned, car, everything we had to sell. My dad is actually basically my hero, and I'm like, what's gonna happen now? We don't have our hero in the house. Thanks to mom, she was really strong. I do have a big respect for my mom. She handled herself. She took her responsibility. We went together all the way to Djibouti, and then we had the chance to take like a ship all the way to Assab. That was actually in Eritrea, and then we went to Asmara.
So altogether, how long did this trip take from Addis to Djibouti to Assab to Asmara?
We entered Djibouti within one day from Addis Ababa to Djibouti, and then we stayed 2 weeks, and then we entered Eritrea.
Once you got there, do you have any siblings? And how did you all adapt to being in
Yeah,
Eritrea for the first time? You're like, what is this?
yeah, definitely. It was actually we felt a little bit like adventurous. I mean, like it was like around the world in 80 days. That feeling we were like traveling from Ethiopia to Djibouti, from Djibouti all the way to Eritrea. But then the moment we entered Eritrea, it was I don't know. It was around 8 o'clock, 7:30, and we saw this small Italian cars, yellow cars, and very old. That was actually new for us. And horses. It was different. It was really different, and we had to adapt. And it took us a little bit while because we never actually spoke Tigrinya very good. We had to learn from scratch. And then we started high school, and then we came up across different Amiche people, people we used to know back in our school in Ethiopia. It was like, oh, I know you. You were in Addis Ababa. We used to go in the same school. Yeah, you live around there. So we had some kind of connections. We spoke the same language. At that time, we were only playing PlayStations, and we actually forgot about all the things that we seen and the shocking things. We forgot it, and we started a new life. We get reunited with our family. That was also a very great moment. I saw my dad. He was fine. He was healthy. So yeah, it was a great moment when we reunited with our families and friends.
So then once you finished school in Eritrea, eventually you decided to leave. Why was that?
Me and my brother, we were actually in Sawa. Sawa is actually a military camp. You have a national examination matriculation. You either pass to university or the government decides your fate. That means you become for the rest of your life a soldier or you'll be in the national service. Me and my brother, we actually passed our matriculation examination, but then we saw there was no perspective, future perspective. Father was actually not living in the Eritrea, so we were actually only with our mom. The economic situation was bad, political situation was bad, there was no future perspective, and we were like, you know what, this is actually the part where we have to move out of the country. So we were forced again to leave the country and to come to the Europe. It is an adventure. It was also risks. At one point, you just have to decide and take a risk. My mom, she was not eligible to do national service in the country, so they told her, you know what, you have the right to leave the country. My brother was actually the one who first left, so he went to Sudan, from Sudan to the Netherlands. But for us, it was actually hard to leave the country legally. We had to go all the way to Sudan, and from Sudan, we came to the Netherlands. And the reason is because our dad asked for a family reunification. That's actually a program where family get settled. Thank God we came peacefully from Sudan to Amsterdam.
Wow, so you got reunited again. So how did
Yeah,
it feel to be a refugee a second time?
that is so. You have no idea. I mean, so that it was a good feeling. You have a feeling that okay, this is actually the final point where you will never see the refugee life again. Yeah, I was around, if I'm not mistaken, 18, 19, maybe 20 when I first arrived to the Netherlands. My dad told me, you know what, you have to get integrated with the whole society. It's very different in terms of the culture, language, continent. I mean, we were in Africa and we decided to go all the way from Africa to Europe. The beautiful part is in the Netherlands, everybody speaks English. In one way, it cripples you because it doesn't motivate you to learn the language. Another way, it is nice because you get the access to find information. The first thing I did was, okay, I have to have education. In order to have the education, then I need to learn the language, the customs, the norms, be Dutch. And I had that practice because I used to live in Ethiopia. I was part of the Ethiopians, and then we went to Eritrean. I was part of Eritrean, and then we came to the Dutch. I was part of the Dutch. So the adaptation was actually very smooth for me to be part of the society. It is a very hard work. I mean, learning the Dutch language from scratch is not easy. The first thing I did is force myself not to speak English. I spoke only the Dutch, and school helped also. And within no time, I was really good at it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Being young helps, but also being a clever hybrid from day one, and your parents had such an open mindset to other cultures, other languages. I'm sure that was made it much easier.
Exactly, 100%. I agree with that. I mean, my family helped me a lot. I really thank them. They really motivated me. They gave me the best advice on how I could actually develop. I think this is actually the result of my parents. The right footing, the right mindsets, the environment, everything. If you have somebody who is actually beside you, who could guide you to have the perfect future perspective.
Yeah, I know your mom will be watching this, so you did a good job.
Yeah, hey, mom, good job. Yeah, definitely.
But now you're raising your own family, and you mentioned before your wife is Habesha, but she was born and raised in the Netherlands.
Nah,
So,
yeah, well, she was born in Eritrea, of course, but then her family also moved again to the Netherlands, and she grew up here in the Netherlands in a very small city called Amersfoort. We met in Amsterdam. So yeah, I did a little bit traditional way of asking her family for hands, and we got married, and we now having 4 kids together. I speak to them actually English. They're really good at English. I'm a little bit nerdy. I love playing games, so we do play together games, football, and they learn all these languages. But I do tell them their origin. I tell them that I was born in Ethiopia, raised in Eritrea, came to the Netherlands, and that language is very nice. I mean, you get connected with different people, different society, culture, and I'm proud of that. And I don't pressure them actually to speak Ethiopian language or Eritrean language. I don't force them, but they just learn it, and I'm happy about it. Proud actually. It's,
yeah, that's the best way actually with kids. If you force them to do something, eventually they will hate it.
exactly, 100%, definitely. So my work is actually intercultural mediator, and we actually work to improve the accessibility and the quality of care for our minors, bridging social culture gaps, linguistic facilitations. It could be in healthcare service, but we give them the chance to get their voice to be heard. And this is my job, actually.
And just for you guys who are listening, when we're talking about minors, we're not talking about coal miners, we're talking about young people. So, what age group are we talking about?
Yeah, starting from 12 to 17, starting from Eritrea. They go illegally to Ethiopia or neighboring countries like Sudan. And from Sudan or Ethiopia, they start their journey all the way to Libya, across different European countries to reach a safe country. They have seen so many things, so many bad things on the way. By law, compulsory that a minor who come to the Netherlands with our parents, they have to have a guardian. There's a cultural gap and language gap. So we try to help for both parties, I mean, the minors and the guardians, to have one common ground and to help each other. The main task of the intercultural mediators is doing the interpreting, but also transmitting the right message from A to B or from guardians to the minors. But also, we help them prevent conflict. The Dutch and the German, they have very low context of communication. They want action. What's your name? What happened? I mean, they really want straightforward answers, for example. For Eritreans, when they give an answer, it could be indirect, just to have eye contact. For example, for Europeans, you have to have the right eye contact so that you could bring your message straightforward. Even for professionals, Europeans find it a little bit hard to understand if you don't look at them straight to their eyes and give them answers. They find it a little bit rude. As experts, we tell them that it is actually a difference in context, culture context. Even food, for example, East Africans they eat with their hands, while in European countries they use cutlery, forks, knives.
For pizza.
For yeah, exactly. For pizza, for example, exactly true. You'll be surprised that there are so many minors who never had the chance to use the cutlery. I mean, forks and knives. They don't know how to use it.
What are some of the success stories? And you said from 12 to
Yeah.
17. So, 17, they would be finishing school. What support do they get
Uh,
after that? And is there an example that you could give of someone who's doing well now?
I mean, there's definitely success stories. Finish school, they get reunited with their families, they work, start working, they integrate, they speak the language. I mean, they're really hard workers. Of course, the first time there's always obstacles, but the moment you give them time, then they start to understand the system and the values and different cultural aspects. It's just incredible to see how they flourish, and they'd be like, you know what, I don't need your help. I'm gonna do myself. I have a CV. I'm gonna go for agencies. It's just incredible to see that.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work, but you see their determination and
Big
you're like,
time. Yeah,
no.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, determination. That is it. They have this incredible determination always to success.
I have a friend here that he came as an unaccompanied minor,
Yeah,
and now I think he's in his mid 20s. He's already finished his trade school training. He's working now. He has his own apartment, his own
yeah,
car, driver's license. I'm
exactly.
like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. I mean, they are always looking for the right information. The moment you give them the tools, informations, they are always ready to flourish. If they have the right tools and the skills and the language, it becomes really easy for them to integrate in the society.
You could have chosen any job that you wanted. You decided to do an interpreting translation that would be able to help your community. Why did you decide to do that?
I think I got it from my parents. They were always contributing to the society, to the community. I got it from them. I love helping people. I love supporting people. You get energy actually out of it. Just see people happy and being thankful that you give them the right help. It's just incredible. Let's just give them a chance. Let's hear them out. Um, I mean, they have incredible stories. They too had a families. They too had a life. At one point, we were also having the same problems. Helping each other gives us only a productive society, and we can save a child by helping. Let's just give them a chance. That's the only thing I would say. And you will see this incredible talent coming out of it. I'm lucky to help those people, to be honest. I really am. I love it.
Yeah, I love your mindset, and we're gonna need it more and more as more immigrants are moving
Yeah.
around. Um, Especially with the climate change and all the other things going on,
Exactly.
there's going to be more and more people that have to leave their country for different reasons.
The crucial aspect of the work of intercultural mediators or ICMers is just building trust and facilitating information. That's it. And they just go to other people and they give also the same help which I gave them. That is a meaningful work.
It definitely is. The best clever hybrids create
Yeah,
more clever hybrids.
exactly. Exactly. True, true.
Thank you so much for your time, Ramy. I know this is time you could be spending with your 4 kids and your wife, so we appreciate you taking the evening to talk to us
Likewise,
today.
likewise. Thank you so much, Gabby, for having me.
It was a pleasure. And all of you listening, thank you so much for staying with us until the end. If you want to contact Remy, I'll be putting his contact information in the show notes there. But if you're a native speaker in a country or even an immigrant who's been around for a while, think about some of the things Remy said. How can you help? It doesn't have to be a big investment of time or money. It might just be being nice to the next person you see who's struggling, trying to talk and order their food, or they look like they're lost. Just be nice to other people. That's easy enough. So this is GabyV for Clever Hybrids signing off, and we'll see you in the next one.